Atlanta Braves season takeaways and off-season preview. Starting with the 2025 season for this team, it was an utter disappointment. Coming into the year, they were the favorite to win the National League East, and then they didn't even make the playoffs. So, why did that happen? Well, primarily it came down to pitching injuries was one of the big reasons, probably the biggest reason. Now, the offense wasn't as great as it needed to be either, but it would have had to do a ton to overcome the pitching staff and what they were having to put up with on that end. At one point in the season, I believe they had actually all 5 of their starters from opening day on the injured list at the exact same time, if I remember correctly. And they went the majority of the year without the majority of their starting rotation on the pitching end. So next year, their pitchers will be healthy again, and they'll be back to being the favorite in the American League East, right?
Not so fast, midget! Not so fast, midget!
Because while you can blame the failed season on the pitching staff, again, like we said earlier, the offense wasn't perfect. They were 13th in runs scored, 13th in OPS, and 14th in home runs. And this is supposed to be an offense that's one of the best at hitting home runs and having OPS. There were 2 hitters that really carried their own weight, and that was Drake Baldwin and Ronald Acuna Jr. Those 2 guys really killed it. Of course, Acuna needs to be healthy and on the field, and hopefully he can do that all season in 2026. I personally think they should bring back Kim for the 2026 season. Shortstop is a massive hole for this offense. But overall, they just have a lot of players who had mid-years, but have ups and downs and potential to be a lot better. Like Matt Olson, we know he can be amazing. He had a really good year, but not a great year. Sean Murphy appeared to figure some things out, but then he started struggling with injuries. Austin Riley is notoriously a second-half player, and then he spent most of the second half of this year injured. Michael Harris, of course, got off to a terrible start as well and then picked it up later in the year. So a lot of these players flashed, what they can be and what we know they can be, but they also flashed the ability to be much worse than what we need them to be. So the question is, what will they actually do in 2026? We know the capabilities there. Can they execute on it? A lot of that comes down to coaching and getting the most out of these guys. I do feel optimistic, I would say, overall for the offense in 2026. I think a lot of the guys who had down years in 2025 still showed flashes of their potential. It's not like they went all year with being terrible offensively, with guys like Michael Harris showing that upside later in the year. And so with a fresh season, a healthy lineup, new manager, I think they can get things on the right track there. Let me know down in the comments if you think they need to bring back Ozzy Albies or you think they should go elsewhere with the solution at second base. So if that lineup bounces back and the starting rotation gets healthy again, then they're back on track, right?
Not so fast, midget! Not so fast, midget!
I hate to say it, but we gotta go back to the pitching staff now. Yeah, they're gonna be healthier in 2026, but who's actually gonna be there? I already know Braves fans are gonna rip me to shreds for slandering this rotation, but hear me out. Chris Sale and Iglesias are hitting free agency. These are 2 veteran pitchers that have been very good for this team that you're going to have to fill in for now. That or decide to bring them back and pay them. But even if you decide to do that, they are risky veterans at this point. So here's the potential rotation without them. At the 1 and 2 spot in the rotation, you're going to have Strider, who really needs to continue to bounce back and get healthy and up his performance in 2026. And then Schwellenbach is the other guy at the top of the rotation. Again, getting healthy, the big deal for him. For the remaining 3 spots, you could pay $20 million and bring back Chris Sale. Reynaldo Lopez will look to return. His performance could be anywhere from amazing and a very underrated pitcher, like we have seen from him in recent years, to super meh and just kind of a solid 4 in a rotation. Waldrop showed a lot of promise. I think he's a guy that could really take a spot in this rotation. Bryce Elder, Joey Wentz, Grant Holmes, also guys that exist, not guys I'm all that excited for. But at this point, it looks like at least 2 of those guys are going to have to slide into the rotation unless there are some free agent moves made. Now, this team did quietly go out and get Alek Manoah mid-year. He did go down with Tommy John surgery, but I'm kind of interested to see if he could possibly bounce back. We know the Braves are very good at developing and getting these veteran pitchers back on track. So I would look for them to make something out of him, even though it is a bit of a long shot. Overall, there's just so many question marks with this rotation. We went through all the names. Everybody's either coming back from injury or has had down performances or just isn't really established as a high-level pitcher. We're not really sure what we're going to get from them in a rotation. Just everybody's got something, and there's never a season where everything just goes right for everybody. So you have to have the depth and the skill to get through a lot of issues throughout a year. And I don't know if the Braves have the depth right now. We saw they definitely didn't have that depth in 2025. Now, I do know this front office is a very good front office, and I do expect them to go out and make some moves. And also, they've developed well. They're going to make the most out of the pitchers they do have in-house. So I am intrigued to see how they shuffle and work this rotation throughout the offseason, and then who actually takes jobs when it comes to spring training, how these other guys look coming off of injuries. Are they at their best pitching really well? Or are there maybe some struggles coming back from these injuries? Inconsistencies in their performances, that's not what you need, and that would really hold this team back. Overall, though, I do trust this organization to make the right moves and to do the right thing, and they'll figure it out in the offseason. So let me know your optimism level down in the comments. Can the Braves get back into the playoffs in 2026?